The grand ballroom of Elysium Hall shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, their light reflecting off the polished marble floors. The air was thick with the scent of fresh roses and the soft hum of classical music played by a string quartet in the corner. Waiters in tailored suits glided through the room, balancing trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres, while the city's elite mingled in their finest attire. Diamonds sparkled, designer gowns flowed, and the room buzzed with laughter and whispered conversations about the latest scandals and stock market triumphs. At the center of it all stood Isabella Hart, the event coordinator for the evening. Her sleek black dress hugged her figure perfectly, and her hair was styled into an immaculate updo. She moved through the crowd with practiced ease, her clipboard in hand and a rehearsed smile on her lips. To Isabella, this was not just a job, it was her stage. She thrived on the attention, the power, and the privilege of rubbing shoulders with the city's most influential people. "Isabella, darling," a woman in a gold sequined gown called out, waving her over. "The flowers are divine this year. You have outdone yourself." Isabella smiled, her tone dripping with false modesty. "Oh, it is nothing really. Just a little touch to make the evening special." As she continued her rounds, her sharp eyes scanned the room, ensuring everything was perfect. But her gaze suddenly stopped at the entrance, where a man had just walked in. He was dressed in a simple white shirt, faded jeans, and a pair of scuffed sneakers. His hair was slightly messy, and he carried himself with an air of quiet confidence that seemed out of place in the opulent setting. Isabella's lips curled into a frown. Who let him in? She thought, her mind racing. She quickly made her way to the entrance, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cold and clipped. "Can I help you?" The man turned to her, his eyes calm and kind. "Yes, thank you. I am here for the gala." Isabella raised an eyebrow, her gaze sweeping over his attire. "I am sorry, but this is a private event. Are you sure you are in the right place?" He smiled, unfazed. "Yes, this is the place. I was invited." She let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Invited? By whom?" "Mr. Grayson," he replied simply. Isabella's eyes narrowed. Mr. Grayson was the host of the gala, one of the wealthiest men in the city. There was no way he would invite someone like this. She crossed her arms, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Well, I will need to confirm that. Wait here." She turned on her heel and marched toward the reception desk, muttering under her breath. Honestly, the audacity of some people. Does not he know this is a black tie event? At the desk, she accessed the guest list, typing his name with exaggerated precision. When nothing came up, she smirked. "Just as I thought." She returned to the entrance, her expression smug. "I am sorry, but your name is not on the list. You will have to leave." The man's smile did not waver. "There must be a mistake. Could you check again?" Isabella let out an exasperated sigh. "Look, I do not have time for this. This is a very exclusive event, and we cannot just let anyone in. Now, if you will excuse me." Before she could finish, a deep voice interrupted her. "Is there a problem here?" Isabella turned to see Mr. Grayson himself approaching, his tailored tuxedo fitting him like a glove. Her demeanor instantly shifted, her smile returning. "Oh, Mr. Grayson, this gentleman claims he was invited, but his name is not on the list." Mr. Grayson's eyes landed on the man, and a flicker of recognition passed over his face. He extended his hand, his tone warm and respectful. "Ethan, I am so glad you could make it." Isabella's jaw dropped. "Ethan," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan shook Mr. Grayson's hand, his smile widening. "Thank you for having me. It is a beautiful event." Mr. Grayson turned to Isabella, his expression stern. "Isabella, this is Ethan Carter. He is a very special guest. Please make sure he is well taken care of." Isabella's face flushed with embarrassment, but she quickly composed herself. "Of course, Mr. Grayson. My apologies, Mr. Carter." As Mr. Grayson walked away, Isabella turned back to Ethan, her tone now overly sweet. "Please follow me. I will show you to your seat." She led him through the ballroom, her mind racing. Who was this guy? And why is Mr. Grayson treating him like royalty? She glanced at him out of the corner of her eye, trying to piece together the puzzle. But Ethan's calm demeanor gave nothing away. When they reached a table near the back of the room, Isabella gestured to a chair. "Here you are. I hope this is suitable." Ethan nodded, his smile never fading. "It is perfect. Thank you." As she walked away, Isabella could not shake the feeling that something was off. She glanced back at him, her eyes narrowing. We will see how long he lasts. Isabella returned to her duties, but her mind kept drifting back to Ethan. She could not understand why Mr. Grayson had treated him with such respect. He must be some kind of charity case, she thought, her lips curling into a sneer. Probably one of those do-gooders who thinks he can make a difference by showing up at events like this. She glanced over at his table, where he sat quietly, observing the room with a serene expression. A waiter approached him, offering a glass of champagne, but Ethan politely declined, asking for water instead. Isabella rolled her eyes. Of course. He is not even drinking. Probably cannot handle it. Her attention was soon diverted by a commotion near the stage. A young woman in a simple blue dress was struggling to set up an easel and a canvas. She looked out of place among the glittering crowd, her hands trembling as she arranged her paints. Isabella recognized her as Lila, a local artist who had been invited to showcase her work at the gala. Isabella marched over, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the chatter. Lila looked up, her face flushed with embarrassment. "I am sorry. I am just setting up for the live painting demonstration. I did not mean to cause any trouble." Isabella crossed her arms, her tone icy. "You are blocking the walkway. Do you have any idea how much this event costs? We cannot have you ruining the atmosphere." Lila's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded quickly. "I will move everything right away. I am so sorry." Before Isabella could say anything else, Ethan appeared beside them. He knelt down to help Lila gather her supplies, his voice calm and reassuring. "Here, let me help you. Where would you like to set up?" Lila blinked in surprise, clearly not expecting anyone to assist her. Thank you. Over there, by the window, would be perfect." Ethan smiled and picked up the easel, carrying it to the spot she had indicated. Isabella watched in disbelief, her irritation growing. Who does he think he is, playing the hero? She stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Mr. Carter, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but this is a professional event. We cannot have guests interfering with the staff." Ethan turned to her, his expression calm but firm. "I am just helping out. It is no trouble." Isabella's jaw tightened, but before she could respond, Mr. Grayson appeared beside her. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, his tone polite forced a smile with an underlying edge. "Everything is fine, Mr. Grayson. Mr. Carter was just assisting with the setup." Mr. Grayson nodded, his eyes lingering on Ethan for a moment before he turned to Isabella. "Good. Let us make sure all our guests are comfortable, shall we?" Isabella's smile faltered, but she nodded. "Of course." As Mr. Grayson walked away, Isabella shot Ethan a glare before storming off to attend to other guests. She could not shake the feeling that he was somehow undermining her authority, and it infuriated her. If you like the story, then write us in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe us. If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience.